Today we're looking at the side kick. How do we really increase the power behind it? And what makes it different from a back kick? So what we want to explore today are some ways that we can improve our side kick, make it stronger, more powerful, and maybe some differences that make it a little bit better than that back kick. Now the pivot is extremely important for setting up the success for the rest of this kick. Pivot simply means that this foot that's on the floor when I kick is going to turn and my toes are going to point exactly opposite the way that I want to kick. So once I make that pivot, the really important thing here is that it allows me to chamber my knee and pull it in correctly. If I don't pivot and I go to lift this knee and pull it in for my kick, if I bring those feet down, you can see that I'm actually going pigeon-toed in the air. This is not a strong position. But if I get my full pivot, then I lift and chamber this knee up, what I've actually done is reset my hips. They're in this natural anatomical position, the position that I run in, the position that has power in it. So that pivot is going to equal power. The more that we can pivot, it's like opening a faucet and allowing all this power to rush in for that kick so I can get that good chamber, which is the next piece of a great kick. Now the chamber position is where I'm pulling my knee in and preparing to do my kick. And what we're really looking for here is how well we can get my heel and my knee to be lined up in the same line so I can push straight through on that kick. Sometimes you'll see side kicks where people chamber their foot down and then it kind of flicks out like this. There's not a lot of power in that. Now we have a couple of different ways to develop that powerful chamber. One of the first ways is to do a hand check. That means that if I'm kicking with my right leg, my left hand is going to be right back here, my backhand, and the goal is that this knee is going to touch. In fact, we like to look for two touches that after I kick, I bring it back and touch. And so that's one way we can measure if that knee is pumping the way that it should. Now, one of the other great ways that we can work on that side kick is to take balance out of the equation and focus on that chamber on the ground. So we start off with our hands on the floor, and this is where we start to get into the back kick versus the side kick. So when you're doing a back kick, the kick happens behind my shoulder. So you can see with both hands on the floor here how the shoulder is turned down and my kick is here, and it's actually happening behind me. Now, this is okay to work on. It's great for developing muscles, and again, a back kick has a lot of power. But if I open up my shoulder here, now I work that side kick, and it's happening inside of my shoulder. So my shoulder is here, the kick is here, and this is gonna help me get a lot more power into my kick, which we're gonna show you in just a second. Mr. Johnson has volunteered to be my experimentation participant. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw a couple of kicks. We're gonna do a couple where we're gonna kick behind our shoulder, and we'll do a couple where we kick in front of our shoulder. Now, we're gonna do our best. I'll do my best to try and kick the same power level and just see if the difference is where he feels it here. So we're not really trying to go all out for now. All right, go. So first one behind the shoulder. Okay. What do you think? Not bad? Okay. Little ouchie? Okay. All right, we're gonna keep the shoulder open this time. You go back a little bit farther. What do you think? Yeah. Okay. So the open shoulder penetrates. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. Just kick that way again. Oh, not that way.
Second one seems more solid. Okay.
So one of the drills that we really like to help develop that good posture position for that side kick and kicking inside of that shoulder is we'll take a bow staff, or like I have an Eskrima here, baton, you put it here and you allow it to stretch and keep this front hand open, so that from here, as I throw my side kick, I want it to happen inside of that hand. So if I'm here and I'm kicking, it's inside. You set it up on the bag so that the stick is pointed over here and I'm kicking the bag inside of that hand. Now, one of the really great things that we love about doing side kicks versus back kicks is how it sets up my posture. If I kick and I roll that shoulder, I now have to reset in order to stay engaged with my partner. But if I can keep that kick inside of my shoulder, that allows me to kick and still be in a position to attack, block, and move and not have turned my back to my opponent. The other thing to remember is that real power crushes. When you see a knockout from a side kick, when you see a knockout from a body shot, the guy doesn't go flying backwards across the ring, he crumples. And that's what we're looking for, is how do we make that side kick have power so that it crumples the opponent. Now, one thing to remember is that in order to kick inside of that shoulder, it does take some flexibility. You do have to do some thoracic work, some flexibility training, but that kick is gonna allow you better posture, better power, better penetration to go with all those first P's of pivot, pull, push, pull. But we all need to remember that an effective kick doesn't always mean a high kick. Yes, there's something very cool about putting that side kick way up high and making it look beautiful. But the reality of being able to use this kick means that most of the time it's gonna be below the waist. In fact, all the ancient original karate manuals from way back when, they demonstrate that all these kicks were done low. They didn't have high kicks in those ancient manuals. And it can be extremely effective from the floating rib on down.